Hi, welcome to Tips on Teens. My name is Kent Toussaint, licensed marriage and family therapist at Teen Therapy Center here in Woodland Hills, California. And every Wednesday at noon, we come to you, joining you on your lunch break to answer your parenting questions. And here is our parenting question of the day. My son came home this week from residential rehab for drugs. I want to make sure he doesn't relapse. How do I help my son stay off drugs and fly right now that he's home? So, first, I want to acknowledge the pain and frustration and the anxiety that parents go through when their kids go through addiction. It is heartbreaking to watch your son or daughter go through this, and my heart goes out to you. And I totally understand this question. This question has come up before, and it's a very important one. First of all, you say that your son has come back from rehab. I'm assuming he's a teenager, probably high school. Hopefully, your rehab center that you worked with you on developing a safety plan for him. You know, when having him transition out of rehab, which is a safe, contained place, coming back home where there may be a lot of triggers. Hopefully, you guys all have a plan for that. If you don't, and you should, but if you don't, here's some things to keep track of, keep in mind. First thing is, make sure that he has a supportive environment. Family, peers, make sure he is in a sober environment, which means that you probably need to make sure you don't have any substance in your house. No weed, no alcohol, no medications that he can get to. And you may say, well, you know, his thing was weed and we drink wine, that's okay. It's easy to substitute one addiction for another. It's best to just stay sober for everyone. Make sure that the people he's around are sober, which goes into the next thing is make sure he's in sober community, like a 12-step group that meets every day. And yes, every day, especially in the beginning, the risk of relapse is so powerful in that first year. So you really want to make sure that he is focusing on his rehab, his recovery every day, and that is a priority. So find teen groups. There are plenty of teen groups in the Valley, here in San Fernando Valley, that talk about marijuana abuse, alcohol abuse, opioid abuse, all these addictions. It's really important. And if you do have, let's say your son was in opioids, rationalizing that weed is okay because it's a much more minor thing, it's not going to fly. He's going to get lost in that addiction. So it's important that you make sure that he is staying clean and you are there for him, that he has a sponsor, he has someone to call at 3 a.m. to make sure that if he's having cravings. Another thing is the environment. Not only in a home, but there are locations, there are people he used to hang out with or be around that are going to be triggers, and we want to make sure that we put space between him and those triggers as much as is reasonably possible, and that he's talking about those openly. You don't want him hanging with the guys who are still smoking weed. You want to make sure that he's also avoiding places where he used to pick up, wherever his plug used to be. Make sure you avoid that part of town. If it was if it was the mall, he may want to avoid that mall for a while until he's stronger in his sobriety. You want to make sure that you're keeping follow-up appointments with his therapist, his psychiatrist, whatever those, his medical doctor, those things as well. And also, not only just, let's focus on positives too. Helping him recognize what he's grateful for, what he is thankful for, what he is hopeful for. Give him a reason to stay sober. If there's a focus on positivity, on things that he's working towards, that he's grateful for, that helps him stay sober, because that's a reason to stay sober. When everything is always negative, it's easy to go, well, forget it. Why should I bother? So I think it's important to focus on those things as well. And also, lastly, make sure he has healthy habits, whether that's more exercise, whether that's a creative hobby, playing guitar, rock climbing, knitting, donating his time to a charity. I don't know what that is, but make sure it's something that he finds gratifying and fulfilling in some way, and that he can share with others. Again, being social and having an emotional intimacy with others, a healthy emotional intimacy, will help him stay off drugs, because often drugs and alcohol are a substitute for healthy emotional intimacy. So those are things you want to consider. Obviously, there are a lot of things that can happen. Make sure he has a safe place with you, that he can come to you and talk to you. Even if he relapses, that you were a safe place to come to, that you can get him help and support. So that's our question for today. If you have more questions, you can always email us at tipsonteens@teentherapycenter.com. We love to get your questions. Keep them coming. We'll answer your questions next Wednesday at noon. And again, my name is Kent Toussaint. I lead two organizations, Teen Therapy Center, and also the nonprofit organization Child and Teen Counseling, which is a training site for therapists in grad school that offers low-cost counseling to the community. Thanks again. We'll see you next Wednesday, November 19th at 12 o'clock. Talk to you then. Bye-bye.